Hi everyone, this is Mr. Chu bringing you a special edition of Year 11 General Maths. I'm sorry I'm not able to be there with you physically in class today. I hope this video will go some way to compensating for that. So if everything has gone well, by the time you are watching this video, you will have just finished your final test for the year. So congratulations. We have an exam coming up on the 14th of November, and this is really a celebration of all the things you have learned in semester 2. I'm not going to pass or fail you on the basis of this exam. The purpose is just to help you go over the material so that you remember more and to get you ready for doing exams next year as well. Believe it or not, by doing the work for preparing for a test or an exam, you learn and you remember. So it's good for you. All we want to do in this class is clarify what the exam's about, what I'm expecting from you, and I also want to go through some of the handouts as well. So I'll just ask the teacher who is supervising this class, if you haven't already, given out the sample exam and the exam information sheets, please distribute those handouts now, and then we'll have a look at them. So let's take a look at the handouts. The first handout I want to draw your attention to is this one, the exam information sheets. Now, in this handout, I have told you exactly what's going to be on the exam. Not the questions, but I've told you what I'm going to assess. So, key information, here's the date, Tuesday 14th of November, and we're going to have it in a classroom, M8, according to your exam timetable. And the reason why we're not in the exam hall, as we normally would be, is because there's a Year 12 exam happening on the day at this time. You are allowed to bring in both a CAS calculator and a scientific calculator, and I recommend that you do that next year. It doesn't matter so much this year, but definitely next year you need both. I am going to be strict on the bound reference. You can only have one. So you can bring in your workbook if you want, but I do recommend you use the dedicated bound reference with the notes you've been writing this semester. Okay, next up is structure. So we'll have reading time. Not a lot of reading time, 5 minutes. In Year 12, you actually get 15 minutes. So next year, I'll train you how to use reading time. This year, it's just to let you have a glance at the paper. And 3 topics, matrices, networks, and linear regression. And I do apologize, there is no trigonometry on the exam. I know that you all like trigonometry because it's one of the easier topics, but it's not covered in the Year 12 course. So, I don't think it's going to be a good use of your time to study for an exam where I'm testing content that you're not going to need next year. Okay, so you are all very busy students because you will have probably 5 or 6 exams in the space of 3 days. So I am not intending to make this a very difficult exam, and I want you to get something out of it. And the way you're going to get something out of this exam is to actually prepare for it. Because the more you know, the more you'll be able to apply and deepen your knowledge by doing this exam. So the first thing I want you to do is have a look at the list of dot points that I have given you on the next 3 pages. And I'm going to look at that in a moment. Once you've done that, I want you to work through the practice exam. So you can start doing that during today's class. By the time you watch this video, there will be answers on Teams. So you are welcome to do it one question at a time and check, or you can do the whole paper and check at the end. It's up to you. If you have finished the practice exam, the next thing you can do is go back to the work program or do the chapter reviews, which I have not assigned this year except for networks. And of course, you can go over your tests, which I should have handed back. and the work program. Now, I know a lot of you like to write notes, but please note, doing questions is better for your revision than writing notes. I tell this to my VC students every year, and every year, many of my students do not listen. I say it for your own good. So I'll repeat myself one more time. Doing questions is better than writing notes. So if you want to do well on this exam, do the chapter reviews, do the practice exam. Don't spend all of next week writing notes. Pro tip. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all of this because you can read and you know what we've done this semester. So basically, when I write the real exam, I'm going to look through these dot points. So if you can tick off every dot point by the 14th of November, you are 100% ready for the exam. That doesn't mean that you'll be able to answer every question because I'll set some challenging questions and there'll be some where you'll need to do some problem solving, but it's well up your alley. So I think I've been very generous in giving you this list. This is the first time I've done it in my time teaching at this school. So really there's no excuse for you to turn up on the day and say, I didn't know that was going to be on the exam, because I've literally told you what to study for. Okay? I will only look at this document when writing the exam. Okay. Now that we've looked at this exam revision handout, now I want to direct your attention to the sample exam, because I wrote this in 2 days and I caught most of the typos. Unfortunately, a few typos slipped through when I printed them. So the first typo I want to draw your attention to is, if you just give me a second, question 12. So on question 12, the diagram is a bit messy in the original handout. So the weights are 20, okay, on the outside, and that's all you need to know, okay? So you can see that it's 20, but it's not very clear. It's fixed on the screen, and it's also fixed in a digital copy of the exam that I've posted on Teams. Okay, the next one I want to draw your attention to is question 13. So on question 13, I made a big mistake. You'll notice that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 data points. And I've said the last 2 are not shown. But if you count the data points here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 plus 2 gives you 8, which is not 10. So the reason is I forgot to include this one. It's actually off the scale. And I also forgot to include this one. So what I want you to do is just pretend that these 2 columns aren't on what's printed in your sample exam and just do the question as you normally would. Okay? So when you do this question, you just want to graph these 2 data points somewhere on this scatter plot. Okay? That's it. The final typo I have already fixed by hand on your exams. I had just written the coordinates round the wrong way. So it's correct on the screen and it's correct on the copy that I have uploaded to Teams. Okay, and that's it. So the sample exam is here for you to look at. And I will say this sample exam I think is going to be harder than the real exam. I haven't written the real exam yet, but because I know that you're sitting 5 exams in 3 days, and you're going to be tired by the time you do this in the afternoon, I'm not going to make it too difficult. And if people don't do so well, I'll scale the marks. So one thing I will say is that on the real exam, each section will be 15 to 20 marks, which means the total will be somewhere between 45 and 60. And before we break and I let you do some study, please read this second dot point. If you can't do a question, you can skip it and come back to it later. One of the things that I find with students is they like to do the questions in order. That is a very bad strategy for doing an exam. So please just skip a question and come back to it later if you don't know how to do it. And I believe that's it. So you've got the rest of this period to go through the exam revision handouts and tick off the dot points. And I suggest that you have a quick look at that, and then once you've had a look at that for about 5 to 10 minutes, start working through this sample exam, and you can check your answers on Teams. And I look forward to seeing you for the only class that we have before the exam, which is next Friday. So, see you then.